So good evening, everyone. Guys, before we're gonna start, do you guys have any doubts in the uh, previous class question, whatever we have discussed so far? Okay, I hope the document has been shared with you guys. So you should be having a document in the last class, whatever we have discussed. The last class, I'm gonna share it by tomorrow. Yep. So the last class I haven't shared it yet because there was a one question left which we need yet to discuss. I will share it by today, okay, so that you guys can access it by tomorrow. Okay. Any other clarification, guys, regarding hack within tree or anything else? Okay. If not, yesterday we discussed the two previous questions, right? We left one question, so today we're gonna discussing that one question, which I would say like out of those three, this one is going to be the toughest one. So let's try to solve the question, right, and try to give an optimized solution, like what could be the possible way. I will help you with the solution. Let's see how many of you will be able to figure out. So we need to write the program with the less time complexity. Yes, guys, this is the one of the most important thing which is required for the hack ability or any company the exam you will give. You need to take care of the time complexity. Sometimes it might happen that yeah, your code might pass few of the test cases, but yeah, sometimes they used to keep such test cases which requires lesser time complexity. So you need to uh, take care of that as well. Like that's why we are discussing both solutions. Like if you don't get anything, if you don't get the optimized solution, at least try to do it with the brute force. Then if you have time, try to optimize the solution as well. Because even if you do with the brute force, at least some of the test case gonna pass. After that, you can think of an optimized solution. That okay, is there a way I can optimize my solution so that I can pass the remaining test cases as well? Right? And make sure you save your program before leaving the exam or before changing the question so that you won't lose your code. Okay? Meanwhile, can you guys try to read the question and try to understand what the problem statement is? If, we have some few sample inputs as well. So if someone wants to have a look at it as well, can have a look. And if someone got the question, let's try to answer the sample input output. What should be the output for this? Okay, when I say one is basically the number of test cases that I'm going to run through. 5 is basically the length of the array. 3 is basically the subarray, the maximum subarray which I can break off this array. Okay, and what you need to find, you need to understand it from the question. Can you guys try to answer this? At least what should be the output for this? This is basically the value of M, capital M, I would say. Okay, if not, maybe I can explain you in a bit. Might be the question language is not very clear. So you are given an integer array A of size n. So you are given an array, let's assume this is an array. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to distribute the elements of an array A into m groups. So what I can do is I can create m number of groups for that. And let's assume the value of m is equal to the 3. Right? Let's assume value of m is equal to 3. So we have a value as well. Now you have to distribute the elements into m groups such that the maximum sum of the elements in each group. Okay, so what I can do is I can divide this into the three. I need to divide the whole array into the three parts, right? So the very first part I can think of like this, that in the, if I just do it over here, so let's say this is the first part I'm going to divide, which basically just contains 1. The second part I'm going to divide, which basically just contains 2. Right? And the third part I'm going to divide, which basically contains the remaining element, which is 3, 4, 5. This is one of the possible solution I can talk about now. There can be a number of possible solutions, right? If I just make a different use case, so it could look like this, that I can select 1 and 2 over here. Right? I can select 3 over here, and I can select 4 and 5 over here. So there can be a number of possibilities that I might have, but what I need to find is I can only, what are the conditions they have given? I can only form 3 subgroups. Okay, 3 subarrays I need to form. Okay, and the second thing what they want is sum of in each and every subarray. So if I take the sum of this, which is 1, again the sum of this, which is 2, 5, 1, 4, 9, and 3, 12. If I have a look at the sum of this number, which is basically give me 3. Okay. Have a look at the sum for this number, which is again 3. Okay. Have a look at the sum for this number, which is basically 9. So what I need to find is which subarray. Okay, now I need to find the maximum sum of the elements in each group is minimum. When I say like this, what I mean by it, what is the maximum sum I am getting over here? Right? Okay. To be precise in that way, 1, 2, and 12, and the elements of an array allocated. Write a program to determine the maximum sum of elements among all the groups. So what is the maximum sum I am getting? 12. But I need to find how should I divide this sub array into the various, how should I divide this array into the sub arrays so that this maximum is going to be the minimum. If I repeat the statement again, how should I divide this subarray? How should I divide this array into the various subarrays so that whatever the maximum value I have, it is going to be the minimum. So when I say the maximum of these 3 is 12, but if you see in this, the maximum of these 3 is 9 itself. Right? Is there a way I can reduce more? Can you guys suggest me something? And what should be the minimum I can get? Good, good. Guys, what I need to do is I need to divide this into the various subarrays such that the maximum value will will be minimum among all of those. Right? Let's say from here I am getting 12, here I am getting 9. So is there a way I can reduce that to the something which is lesser than 9? Right? So if I divide my array like this, correct? If I divide my array like this, 1, here, so the 5 should be only along together. Okay, so the 1, 2, 3, I can make it a pair, which is basically, okay, the very first array, I will make it 1, 2, 3. Okay, the sum of this will be 6. Now I will make a pair of 4. The sum of this will be 4. Sorry, it's the second array that we are going to create, which is basically 4, and the sum as well is 4. If I create a third array, which is basically the fifth one, and the sum itself is a 5. Right? Can you guys think of a better solution than this? Is there a way I can create it? Or is there a way I can reduce more than 6? Is there a way I can reduce more than 6? Okay, just to clarify, some of you might have a confusion that we could have taken 1 comma 2, then maybe 1 comma 4, which will give me 5, then 3 comma 2, which is again give me 5, and the 5 itself, right? But that's not a possible case. We are trying to figure out, right? Why is not a possible case? Because we need to create only the subarrays, right? We cannot create a subsequence from that. So the subarray is always going to be the continuous one. Is that clear, guys? Is the problem statement clear for everyone? Or anyone wants me to repeat it again? Okay, great. So without the problem statement, so the problem statement is like, correct. Now, can anyone suggest me few solutions for this? I don't mind even if you are giving a brute force approach, but at least try to think of some solution, or maybe just few lines of like how exactly you're gonna proceed for this. Should we go for the DP approach? Anything is fine. Like, I'm not very specific that you shouldn't go for the DP approach, but is that question really requires a DP? That's the question, right? The solution is not a DP solution, by the way. And DP is just a way of doing the thing, right? DP is not specific, like how exactly, if you are storing something, you can call it as a DP as well. If you are storing and using it as somewhere, that's a DP itself. just think of an approach like which comes to your mind very first time, that how exactly you can proceed for this. You might not be able to reach till the final solution, but at least you will go that some of the test cases might get passed. Right? Each and every test case has its own weightage. So okay, I will give you a minute time to think. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so what I can do is I will just break down the questions into the various parts. So, okay, let's start with the easy problem, right? And slowly and gradually we will reach till the solution. So, I would like to break this problem into the various parts. Let's first think about this problem. How to divide into the subarray such that it doesn't exceed a k. Right? So, you are given an array. Okay, you need to divide into the subarray. What are the possible values of a k you can take from here so that it doesn't exceed a k? Right? So if k is equals to 3 possible, right? You can take any number of, there is no limitation on creating a subarray. First of all, let's forget about the case that we need to keep track of the subarrays as well. So you can take any number of subarrays, but the problem statement here is what how to divide this array into the subarrays such that it doesn't exceed k, and the k value is 3. Is that possible? You can create n number of subarrays, but the condition here is it should not exceed k. I just wanted to ask you guys that whether the value for k is equals to 3 the possible case or not. Yes, no, guys. No, no, no. I guess most of it didn't get the question. So what the question is basically, let me rewrite it over here. I will share the notepad with you guys as well so that you can have a note as well. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Let's say there is no restrictions on subarrays, right? Forget about the subarrays. You can create n number of subarrays, whatever you want, right? But what I want is and I have given the k values, right? So k values are these, let's say 5, 6, and 7, right? So if I ask you guys, can you divide this array into the various subarrays, right? You can divide it, but the value of a k indicates the maximum value, right? The maximum value you can achieve by adding the two numbers or maybe the n numbers, whatever the subarray you have. So what I mean to say is, let's say you created various subarrays. So you can, what you want to do is you can create 5 subarrays, right? And when you create a 5 subarrays, because there is no condition given that n number of subarrays you can create. So n is equals to 1. Okay, the second subarray will contain the value 2. The third subarray will contain the value 3, right? So what is the maximum, what is the minimum possible sum I need to give, what is the maximum sum I need to give for this so that it satisfies this condition. Um, might be a bit difficult to understand. Okay. So I have created these 5 subarrays. You can consider it in the form of an array. Okay. So if you have a look at it over here, right? Is there a possible way that the maximum value of all of these can be 3, right? Whatever the sum I have got over here, okay? Okay, so mid is equal to the sum array divided by m, then repeat of smaller element. Okay, let's see. Okay, so what I wanted to ask you guys is, like, if the 3 is the possible sum that I can create, right? So 3 is not a possible case because the minimum I have to create, the minimum subarray that I can create from it is the 5 itself, right? So if I say the value of a k should be minimum 5, right? The minimum value of k should be 5 or greater than 5, right? Correct. It's always going to be greater than or equal to the max of the array. Right? So this is what the whole point of this, right? Rather than finding a k, I have given you the k values and I am asking you that what should be the minimum value of a k required to break into the various subarrays. There is no constraint on how many times you can break it. This is what this problem statement says. If you have a look over here, right? How to divide into the subarrays such that it doesn't exceed k. And what is the value of a k? 3 we have given, 4 we have given, 5 we have given. So 5 is the value we can take the minimum one. Then later on, the everyone is possible. But the 5 is the minimum that we need to take off. Okay. Uh, let's go on the level 2 problem. Now I will give you one more constraint. We have m as well. And m is basically the number of subarrays that we can create. Yes. So a question to Mohammed, mid is equal to the sum array divided by m, then repeat for the smaller element. But how you gonna repeat it for the smaller element and what is exactly the smaller element? Here we will sum each subarray. If it is lesser than k, we will take. Okay, let's see. Correct. That's the exact solution. So let's try to do this thing. Sorry. Okay. Now we got the problem two, right? We are given a various subarrays as well. Okay, we need to divide it into the various subarrays, and it shouldn't exceed k. We are limited to the m subarrays. Now we have one more constraint that the k is equals to 5, 6, 7, 8. I have m is equals to 3. So is it possible with the value k is equals to 5 and the m is equals to 3 to break this into the various subarrays? Is it possible with the k is equals to 5? So when I say k is equals to 5, that means sum of each and every subarray should be lesser than 5. Or maybe it may be equals to 5, lesser than or equals to 5. But you can only create 3 subarrays, that is an even condition. Might looks a bit confusing if I just write it over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is there a way you have k is equals to 5 and m is equals to 3? The m is basically the part that you can create. Okay. So we have seen the minimum possible value if m is equals to 3 is 6, because we can create it like 1, 2, 3, which is basically giving me 6. Then I can create one subarray for 4. Then I can create one subarray for 5. Okay. If I give you value k is equals to 6 and m is equals to 3, is it possible or not? I will just write it down yes or no. So I will say it as no. Can you guys tell me answer for this? Is it possible or not? Okay, good. How about others? Correct, correct, correct. So yes, it's a possible thing. Why is it a possible thing? Because I can break it down like this, which is basically going to be the 1, comma 2, comma 3. Okay, the third array would be like 4, and we would be having a 5 as well. Correct? So if I have k is equals to 6, so that would give me 6, 4, and 5, and I can break it. Okay, let's make the value of k is equals to 5 and m is equals to 4. Is it possible or not? Okay, 1, 2, good, 2, comma 3. Okay, for m is equals to 3, what is the maximum sum you are getting? Is that a question? Okay, yes, good, correct. It's a possible thing, right? We can do it like this, correct. And how is it going to be the possible? Because we have one. Okay, I can club 1, comma 2. Okay, I can club 1 itself. Then I can club 2, comma 3. Okay, then I can club 4. Because I have 4 possible arrays, so I can create one. Correct. That that is what. So okay. Can you guys try to answer this at least? Till here we haven't reached the actual solution. But if we try to solve this, we might reach till the exact solution. I will show you that how exactly we're gonna reach to the final solution. But yeah. Okay, so each time we will check if it is possible, then we will stop there. Correct, good. How about others? Correct. So if I just write a pseudocode for this, right? This is not the actual question, right? But this might help you in reaching the final solution, right? So what you're gonna do is you will start with the value of a k, and let's say the k is equal to 5 you have, right? So you will start from the starting, right? And you will check 1 plus 2, right? So the 1 plus 2, I can maximum have the value of a k is equal to 5, right? So I will start from here, 1 plus 2, which will give me 3. I cannot include 3, so I will break my loop over here. And what I'm going to do is, so if I just write a pseudocode for the k is equal to 5, so the very first thing I will get it as 1 comma 2. I cannot include 3 because if I include 3, it will exceed the value of the k. I will break my loop and increase the value of m, right? So initially, I will initialize the value of m is equal to 0, and here after this, I will just do the m plus plus. Now let's come to the second part. I will start from here. It will go 3 comma 4, but I cannot include 4 because if I include 4, right? If I include 4, it will exceed 5. So I need to include only 3 as well. And again, I will do m plus plus, right? Now I will start from 4. I cannot include 5, otherwise it's gonna exceed me, right? So I will just have it as a 4, right? M plus plus. Now the value of an m is already 3, right? The value of an m is equal to 3, and we cannot have a value which is greater than greater than 3. So the 5 is still a remaining candidate, right? And we cannot include it. So what I need to do in the question is, if I just have a look at the original question, right? So the 5 is still remaining, and if I do m plus plus, m will exceed, m is equal to 4, which is not a favorable case for me. If I just talk about the very first thing, because I can only have 3 subsets over there, or the 3 subarrays over there. I cannot have 4 at the same time. So I need to break the loop, and I can say it's not possible. Okay. If I iterate for the second one, it's a possible case. Why? Because k is equal to 6 is there. So what I'm going to do is, if the k is equal to 6, I can include 3 as well. So these 3 numbers will get included together. Okay. So if I just write a pseudocode for the k is equal to 6, and the m will be initially 0, I can have these 3 numbers all together in an array, which is basically then the m value will become 1, or I will do m plus plus over here. Then the value of an m will become 1. I can include 4, but I cannot include 5 because there is a restriction that I cannot exclude 6. Sorry, I cannot exceed 6. So the m value will become 2. Now, if I have the last number, which is basically there, and it's gonna be m is equal to 3. So within the three, I can get it. Now, what we need to think of about this question, because the k is equal to 5. So in this question, we need to find the value of k. If we somehow able to find the value of k, right, the question doesn't say anything. So what we're gonna do is we need to find the value of k, since they have already given that how many subarrays you need to divide into. So if you need to divide into the 3 subarrays, the answer for this should be 6, right? Because what we can do is 1, 2, 3, which will give me 6, 4, 5, and the 6 is the minimum sum that I can achieve from this, right? So if we have a look at the problem statement, right, we need to find the value of k. We need to find the value of k. What is the minimum possible values? But there is a one more explanation. What is the minimum possible values of k at any instance we can have? Right? You shouldn't start iterating from 1 to the end, right? If you start iterating from 1 to end, you always have to iterate it. So how to optimize your code? Correct. It should be always with the max value of the good. So optimizations, there are few optimizations needed for this question, right? If I just tell you why we have discussed the type 1 problem, from the type 1 problem, we will just find out the largest value. We'll start calculating it from the maximum value because this is the minimum value that I can have at any instance. Right? So I will start from this value, but okay, how are we gonna find the value of the k? So for finding the value of a k, what I'm gonna use is I'm gonna use a loop. Okay, if we have a look at it over here. Okay, but when to stop iterating k? Okay, good question. So when you stop iterating k, if you have a look at this question, right? Each and every time you will pass a value to the k. Okay, the value of a k will iterate from the maximum of the array to infinity, right? It can go till the infinite as well. I'm not very sure what should be this value, but if I can say you that it cannot exceed the sum of the array, is that correct? Right? Because a subarray cannot have a sum greater than itself. Right? So what I need to iterate is the value of a k should always vary from maximum array to the sum array, to the sum of the whole array. Right? So if I take about the above case, right, the k value should always go from 5 to 15. That's it. Again, the question is when to stop k. Whenever you got the value, let's say for this case we consider it, okay, m plus plus m is equal to 1. So now for the m is equal to 3, if I cannot achieve this in the m is equal to 3, I need to break it, okay, or I need to return false to that step. If I can achieve it, that means it's an achievable, right? So for each and every case you wanna try, right? So you will first try for the k is equal to 5, then you're gonna try it for the k is equal to 6, then you're gonna try it for the k is equal to 7, right? And you need to keep trying it till the value of a k becomes 15. Right? After once the value becomes 15, there must be some solution in between those. If there is no solution, you cannot break the subarray. You cannot break into the subarray. Is that clear, guys? Till here, is it clear for everyone? Any doubts? Okay. Just give me a minute. I will be right back. Okay. So till here, I hope it's clear for everyone. Now what we need to do is we need to find the value of k. But there is a one more tricky thing. So does this solution looks good to you that I'm going to start from the 5, okay, and I'm going to check for the each and every number. The first optimization we did is basically starting from maximum number. If you don't start it from the maximum number, what is the drawback of that? Start from maximum, right? This will basically reduce your time complexity. How? Because if you always start from 1, right? If you see, okay, I don't think so they have given, but let's say the very first number of the array is like 10 to the power 5, or let's say I started the number like this, right? So what I'm gonna do is, if I just start from this number, right, or I will start from the 1, correct, the k can be optimized, good. So I need to start from the max, because if I start from the 1, I need to reach till this number, then only I will get it. So it's basically we are just wasting our resources, right? Rather than just calculating the max at the first instance and checking it further, because I know that there cannot be a subarray whose sum is lesser than the maximum value. Right? So I will start from the maximum number. Is there a way we can optimize k as well? If yes, how? Or can you guys suggest me something? Is there a way we can optimize it? Okay, how? It's still not a perfect optimized solution. We can still optimize it. Is there a way we can do it? Then we're gonna jump to our code. Okay, k values are only which are sum of subarrays. Okay, but if you're gonna do that, if you always create a subarray, right? So you need to create the subarrays, and after that you need to calculate the sum, which will again increase the time complexity, right? Because for every subarray you need to calculate the sum and you need to iterate from I is equal to j, which is again causing a time complexity issue. Is there any other way you can think of? Anyone in the class? But yeah, that's good that at least you are thinking. How about others, guys? Okay, so let me tell you, there is a way to do it, right? Did you guys ever heard of a binary search? How does a binary search work? Right? So what exactly the binary search works is and how exactly it works. So binary search doesn't check for the each and every value. How does it start it? It always takes the maximum value, right? So what is the maximum? K, I can start from 5 and I can go till the 15. Is that correct? So is there a way if I can apply a binary search rather than iterating for the each and the every value, I can finish it in the very last step. How does that gonna help me? Let's say if at the very first step I can claim that the 5 plus 15 by 2, right? If I just do by 2, which is gonna give me 10. Okay? So if I'm getting 10 and I cannot, if there is a possible sum that, okay, if I can divide my subarrays in such a way that 10 is a possible thing. So I can claim that lesser than 10 should also be possible thing, right? So I don't have to check for the numbers which are greater than 10. Correct. If the 10 is a possible, then we're gonna check it in within 5 to 10. And if then we're gonna check it for the 5 plus 10 by 2, that is 15 by 2, that would gonna give me 7. Then I will check for the 7 number, right? If I check for the 7, then if the 7 is a possible number, then I'm gonna check it in between the 5 and the 7 plus by 2. That is basically the 6th number, right? So rather than doing it in the big of n, I can reduce it to the big of log n. Right? So the time complexity for doing this and the time complexity for, I'm just talking about the last operation that we are doing, right? If we go for this approach, it's gonna take me big of n. If we go with this approach, it's gonna take me big of n. And this is what the expected solution from the head within. Right? Most of the test cases get passed even if you do this, but yeah, few of the test cases still gonna fail, and which might pass if you use the binary search correctly. Is the pseudocode clear, guys? I have the code with me. I'm gonna take you along with the code as well. But if it's clear, maybe we can move on to the code. If someone has doubt, he can ask. Okay, good. Anyone have doubt? Any steps you want me to repeat or anything? Okay, I will share the notepad file with you so that if you guys want to refer this as well, you can refer this as well. Okay, so let's jump on the code now. So I have written the code for that as well, right? So how to use a binary search and all those stuff. So for those like who want to do it in the Java, they can do it in the Java as well. Okay. So if you have a look, what exactly we're gonna do is basically here we have taken the T the test case, that how many test cases we want to take off. Okay, and after that I have taken a value of m. Basically, this is the way of taking an input in the Python. I'm not going into deep into that how should you take an input. But yeah, after just taking an input in the Java, if you are doing it in Java, you can use a scanner, buffer, or whatever you want to make use of. In the Python, you can take the input in the list format and then you can just break it out. Right? Once after you got the solution, what I'm gonna do is I will find the left and I will find the right. If you see what I have explained here, the left is basically the maximum, right? The left is basically the maximum of the array number, and sorry, yes, the left is the maximum of the array, and the right is basically the sum of the array that I'm going to create. So this is what we have initialized. Left is equal to the max array, right is equal to the sum of the array, whatever we have, right? After this, we are going to find the mid, right? So the mid is going to be the left plus right by 2, right? This is how we do a binary search, right? So, okay, what we're gonna do after this? Answer is equal to the empty. So what is basically the answer? We have created just an empty array, right? After while left is lesser than right. So this is just for the understanding purpose. I have given the print statement. Maybe you can remove it later as well. Okay. Now this possible what gonna check is I will go inside the function as well, but this possible gonna check whether the current mid value with the current given mid value with given number of subarrays, I can form. Okay, is there a possibility that I can break it down? Right. So this is what the possible function gonna do. What exactly it checks? Given a value of m, so m is basically 3 in our case, right? So given a value of m is equals to 3, the given the value of a mid, if I just talk about the mid, the value of a mid is going to be the 10, right? Because the left is going to be the maximum one, which is going to be the max of the array, right? So the max of the array value was 5. The sum of the whole array, 5 plus 4 plus 3, 2 plus 1, that would gonna give me 15. So the 15 plus 5 by 2, which is gonna give me 10. So is there a possible that I can create 10? Right? So yes, there is a possibility, right? How can you make it 10? Yes, the 10 is of course a possible number. You can just divide the subarrays into the 10 form and you can always get the 10. So is that possible? If yes, if it's a possible thing, I will just append it to my answer. Right? I will append my answer to the mid, that the mid is the possible thing. And later on, when I come back to this, I'm not going to search for the 10 again. What I'm gonna search for in between 5 to 10, right? I'm not gonna search for the greater than 10 numbers. Right? This is how the binary search works. Actually, we always try to half the test cases whatever we gonna run. And this is why the time complexity is a big of log n instead of having it as big of n. Okay? So the right is equal to the mid minus 1 because every time if it's a possible case, I'm gonna reduce my right. Right? Okay, let's go to the else part. What I'm gonna do is if if the 10 is not a possible case, what if the 10 itself is not a possible case? Then I need to increase my left part. What is the left part? That the max part So the left is gonna be the mid plus 1. So whatever the mid value I have, I'm gonna check it from the 11 to 15 now. I'm not going to check for the rest of the things, which is basically from 5 to 10. So the mid is equal to the left plus right by 2. And each and every time I'm gonna update my mid. Okay, is this clear, guys? Let me go to the possible function, what exactly the possible function does. If you have a look at the possible function, it basically passes, we basically pass the three parameters, which is basically array, m, and the k. Array is basically the whole array that we have just created, or we have just taken the input from the user. M is basically uh, M is basically the number of subarrays that we are going to divide, and K is basically the mid, which we are changing each and every time before checking it. So the current subarray is basically the array 0. I have taken the first number. How many subsets I am going to create? I will just initialize with the value 1 because I have already taken the array 0. Now this question, this is the same thing we're gonna do, right? This is what the logic we're gonna follow now. If you have a look at it over here, if array I plus current sum is greater than k, that means the very first number I'm gonna take and whatever the current sum I have, if it exceeds k, this is what we have done. If it exceeds k, I'm just gonna not do that, right? I will go to the else part and I will just increase. If it's not greater than k, if it's greater than k, I will just do the current sum is equal to the array of I and I will increase the subset number as well. In the else part, what I'm going to do is current sum is equal to the array I plus current sum. So it will just keep on increasing the value. Whenever the subset is greater than n, right? So let's say in this case, we got the m is equal to 4, which is not a possible case. So I need to return false to that, right? So what I'm gonna do is I will just make the flag value as false and I will break the loop. I don't go further because once I got that this is not possible within the given subarray, we're gonna break the loop. Can you just try with this? Right? Let me run this program. Okay. Of course, the 10 is going to be the possible number. Why it's going to be the possible? If you have a look, right? Let me show it to you. Let's say the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Isn't the 10? Yep, the m is equal to 3 is not possible, but it is always possible for the m is lesser than 3, right? If we just break it into the 2, right? So the m value can be lesser as well. You don't have to take care of the m is equal to 3, right? If we are getting in the lesser as well, that's also perfect case. So let's say I take the value there. Correct. No. We're not going to move in the right side, right? The 10 is itself a possible case. If the 10 is a possible case, then we need to check for the lesser one, right? We'll come back to your question. Let's first explain it with the example. Okay, then we'll have a discussion on that. I hope you are getting confused with the possible subsets. Right? So let's say I have given the input as Okay, let's say I have given the input as 1, then I have 5, 3, 1, 3, 4 to 5, right? So these are the values just I am printing for the left and the right, right? So if I just go in that way, 1, 3, 4 to 5, right? So what is the left value I'm gonna get it at the first side, right? It is going to be the 5. What is the right value I'm gonna get it? It's basically 15, right? If we just divide these numbers by 2, I'm gonna get it as a 10. And this is the very first number that I'm gonna append to that. Right? The second time, I will get it as a 5 comma 9, which is the left and the right value. That will give me the 7 as a value, and I'm gonna get it as the next time I'm gonna get it as a 5 plus 6. That's gonna give me 6. So the 10 comma 7, and then I will get it as a 6. Now, how exactly this loop works, right? So if you just have a look, right? We have 1, 3, 4 to 5. So we have taken 1, 3, 4 to 5. What are the possible cases I can think of, right? So the 1 comma 3, this is the one possible case. If I take this as an example, 1, 3, 4, 2, 5. So the initial left value would gonna be 5, okay? And the right value would gonna be 10. Sorry, 50. So the mid value gonna be 10. Okay, if you go inside the loop, is the 10 is a possible case with this, right? Just try to run the loop. Is the 10 is a possible case with this, with the function what we have written? And just to answer your question, right? We have defined a flag is equals to true. And when we are going to break this flag, right? Sub is greater than m. So will the flag will ever be true, right? Sorry, will the flag ever be false in your case? The question what you have just asked, let me just clarify that. Let's say you have taken the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you make 10, right? Can you make 10? Of course you can make 10. How you gonna make 10? 1, 2, 3, 4 you will include in one subarray, and the other subarray will only contain 5. But now you will ask that, okay, now I got only 2 subarrays, right? I got only 2 subarrays. But when I'm going to return it as a false, the condition if you see, whenever the subarray is greater than n, then only I'm going to return it as a false. So still it gonna be true because I have initialized the value as a true. Is that clear? And we run out of the function, we run out of the array length. After that, it's gonna return me flag, which is going to be the true. So the 10 is just itself a possible number. Is that clear? Right? Because we may have a 2 subarrays, or I might have only one subarray. It really doesn't matter. But I cannot exceed the subarrays. That's the only constraint we have. Any doubts, guys? Any step you didn't get for the code? Okay, so let me explain it to you again. Uh, what's the your doubt? Like, is it regarding the code or is it regarding some concept? Can you repeat your question? What exactly the question you wanted to ask? Meanwhile, if someone has any doubts, maybe he can also ask or she can also ask. I will try to answer all of those. or if you want me to explain the complete code, I can do that. Okay, I will share the code with you, no worries on that. 10 is not possible, then what will happen? Okay, for m is equals to 3, let's iterate it that way, right? So if you do it that way, what you're gonna do is, right? We have 1, we have 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I have given the value of m is equals to 3, right? So if the value of m is equals to 3, I have over here. So what I need to do is I need to divide it into the 3 subarrays. And what I'm gonna check is the very first time it's gonna check me the maximum value of the array and the sum of the array, right? So what is the maximum value? Right, the maximum value I got it as a 5. The right value will gonna be 15. Correct. Now the mid value gonna be 10. Till here I assume it's clear for everyone. Okay. Now we will go inside the loop or not? Of course we're gonna go inside the loop because the right is a greater part. So we'll go inside the loop. Is it a possible or not? We're gonna check it. Now, how is it possible? Right? I call a possible function. Right? I pass my array inside it. Okay. What are the values I'm gonna pass? This and the mid value. Right? Now I'm gonna check whether the 10 is possible or not. Right? If the 10 is a possible number, I need to check for the lesser values and I need to reduce my right. Is that clear? Okay. Now I'm gonna do that. Just keep telling me, right? If you got missed out at any point, maybe you can ask again. Right? Initially the flag value was true. If you go inside the loop, right? The flag value was initially true, right? The sub okay, we have considered the array values as 0. So array 0 is basically the first number, whatever we have taken. So basically it's a 1. The current sub array is equals to 1, right? And the sub value is also equals to the 1. Till here, I guess we are good. Now I will iterate inside the loop. 1 comma length of the array. So I will start iterating from the second number, which is basically this. So what will happen in that case? It will go here. It will go here. The array I plus current sub is greater than k. What is the value of an array I have? That is basically 2. What is the value of a current sub I have? That is basically 1. Okay, is it greater than k? What is the value of a k I have over here, which is basically 10? Is it greater? No, it's not a greater one. I will go to the else part. I will just keep on increasing that. Okay, so in this way, I can reach till the 10 over here. Is it clear? Because what I am going to do is, in the similar fashion, I can reach 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. Right? I'm going to reach till here. Now, if I go to this part, the current sub value will become 10 plus array will become 15. It's a greater than k. Right? So it's a greater than k. What I'm going to do is, so my sub value will become 2. Right? My current sub will become 15 is equals to the array of 5. Right? So whatever the values we have, that is equals to the 5. So if you're going to check this condition, when you are going to make a flag as a false, what is the value of a sub I have, which is 2? What is the value of an m I have? Sorry. What is the value of an m I have? 3. If this condition is getting satisfied, no, I will not return false. What I'm going to return is true. And if I'm returning true, that means this is a possible case. Is that clear? Any doubts, guys? They said contiguous element. Then why need to do the binary search and arrange elements? We are not arranging the elements, right? What exactly we are doing is binary searches. If you see carefully, we are taking the maximum values and the sum of the array, right? So any point of a time, we are not going to rearrange the elements. first of all. Is there a step you see we are going to rearrange the element? We are just trying to reduce the number of steps that we're gonna reach to the final solution. Okay. I will share the code with you guys as well. Okay. If you guys want, I can share it right away. There is nothing big deal. Okay. I hope you guys should be able to see it. So try to dry run the code, and wherever you feel like if there is something not clear to you, give a print statement at that position and try to think of yourself. I will share the question with you along with the doc itself. And if you want this also to be shared, so maybe I can share this. Okay, guys, before moving on to the next question, is there any doubt in this? I know it took a bit long, but it was a necessary question. Every question won't going to be doesn't going to be that hard. Okay. I would say out of the three questions, this is the one of the most difficult question that they have asked. Any doubts, guys? If you guys have any doubts, maybe you guys can ask. Otherwise, we'll move on to the linked list. Okay, can you guys try to answer MCQ quickly so that I can get to know that? Okay. Okay, D. Okay. The worst number of comparison needed to search a single linked list of length n of a given element. Okay, so let me tell you, the answer is going to be the option number D. Why? Because in the worst case scenario, what is the number of comparison needed to search a single of a length n for a given element? So if we have given the n elements, right, I need to iterate the complete linked list because we don't have an indexing in the linked list. And if we don't have an indexing in the linked list, I need to iterate the whole linked list. Then only I will be able to reach to the particular element, right? So the time complexity would be n itself. That's what we explained, right? Even if you have a look at this example, if you have a look at this example, what exactly we have is if we are iterating in this way, right? For each and every number, the time complexity is a big of n. If we are doing a binary search, the time complexity gets reduced to the big of log n. That's the same concept we are doing over here, right? When to iterate each and every number, that's going to be the nth itself. Okay. Maybe we can try to answer this, or maybe this. Let's try to answer this. Yep, there is a loop. We need to find that how can we detect there is a loop or not. We need to determine that. Okay, repetition of elements. Okay, correct. So it should not be repetition of elements, it should be repetition of address, because the elements can be get repeated even if there isn't a loop, but the address won't going to be get repeated. Okay, good. Using a two pointer node, one moves one step, other moves two steps. Okay, if it's a two pointer meet, then loop. Okay, good. If a node is visited twice, then we can say there is a loop. Okay, but how exactly are you going to identify it? Okay, no. Okay, no node is going to have a null. Okay, but okay, that's an interesting question. No node is going to have a null, but how exactly you gonna check it, right? Because you don't know that till the time you need to iterate it, right? You will keep on iterating. At one step you need to find a terminating condition, but you don't have a terminating condition. Till what time you are going to keep on iterating? Good thinking, but okay, if a node points previous node, and how will you find the length of a linked list? Okay, but for finding the length of a linked list, again you need a terminating condition, right? If you have a look at the length, right? How exactly we find the length? Right? From the code, you cannot find the length without, okay, the size you mean. Correct, but the size is an inbuilt function, and how does that size function work, right? Let me show it to you. Right? Okay, length of linked list, right? Because the terminating condition, what we have is, let's open any of the blocks. Don't remember which one it is. Correct, but how does the size work? If you have a look at the size, right? So correct, you need a null condition over there, right? while the head is not equals to null, you will keep on iterating inside this, and you will, okay, you will keep on iterating inside this, and you will keep on incrementing the length. So if you keep on incrementing the length, the null point is, the null will never come to that, right? And the size also works in the similar fashion, right? If you have a look at the internal implementation of a size, that also works in the same manner. So you cannot find the length of that. That's why you are not able to find that. But good, guys. Okay. So there can be various approaches to do it. I'm not saying this is the only approach, but yeah. So basically, the first approach we can think of is like traverse the list one by one. Keep putting the node addresses. Okay. Mind over here the words, right? We are putting the addresses. We are not putting the data, because the data in the linked list may be repeated several number of times, even if it doesn't have a loop. Let's say how about my linked list is a 5555555, right? And it doesn't have any loop, right? But the address is not going to get repeated because it is a pointer based address. So for sure it's not going to get repeated in a hash table. At any point, if a null is reached, then return false. If next of the current point node of the any of the previously stored the nest in a hash table, then return true. That means if I got the repeated address, I need to return it as a true. If I got the null, then I can claim that my list got ended, and if my linked list got ended, I'm not able to trace it again. Or maybe I can claim that it doesn't have a loop. In the similar fashion, you can use one more approach, which is basically Floer cycle finding algorithm. So this is also one of the good approach. What exactly we do in that? So this is the fastest method for traversing linked list using a two pointer. So what exactly we do in that is move pointer by one and the others by two. So if the pointer meet at the same node, then there is a loop. And if the pointer do not meet, then the linked list doesn't have a loop. Okay, just to give an iterative view. So how exactly we're gonna iterate it? Like I will start my both the heads over here, right? So one will go to the two, other will go to the three. Okay, I don't have a pictorial representation. Let me find it. Okay, so they are also using a two pointer. I guess there was a power failure at my side. Let me continue with that. Okay. So what we had is we will use a two pointer. Guys, is my screen visible? Okay. So what we're gonna do is we have a slow and a fast pointer over here, right? So slow pointer, as the name suggests, will only go one step forward, and the fast pointer will go two step forward. The slow will come over here, fast will reach over here. In the second step, what we're gonna do is the fast will come over here because it was already here, so it will go two step. It will come to the 10. The slow will go to the 4, right? In the next step, the fast will come over here, and the slow will go over here, and they're gonna meet at this point. Whenever they're gonna meet at this point, that we can claim that there is a loop. If one of them reaches to the null, then we can claim that linked list doesn't have a loop. Just two lines of code for that we have. So in any language you want to prefer, like if you want to prefer in Java, you can have it in Java as well. If you want to write it in Python, you can write the same code. So what exactly we're gonna do is this is the basically the condition that we're gonna check in every language: while slow, fast, and the fast dot next. Why we are checking the fast and the fast dot next? Because any one of the things can be null. Since we are iterating two pointers at a time, this is a crucial condition that you need to take care of, which is basically the fast and the fast dot next is not equal to null, as well as the slow is not equal to null. The slow is pointed pointing to the one point ahead, fast is going always 2 point ahead. Anytime we got the same, we are going to return it and we can claim that there is a loop. Else, we can, if one of them null occurs, we can claim that there is not going to be a loop. Right? Similar code you can have it in Java as well. The same condition we need to take care of. Any doubts, guys? Or anything you wanted to ask before we wind up the session? Okay, regarding the PDFs, I will share with the Suntech team. They will surely share with you guys as well. Anything apart from the PDF? Okay, if not, okay. If not, maybe you guys can drop off. Have a good day, guys. Thank you. Okay, give the few tips or the website we see for the competitive coding. I would suggest go for the Geeks for Geeks. It has a wide variety of questions and it has archives as well. So archives are the those which will gonna help you to prepare a company specific, right? Let's say you want to prepare for some TCS, you want to prepare for any of the company. Let's say you want to prepare for Amazon or whatever the company it is, right? Or let's say you want to prepare for Philips. Go there, search for the Philips archive, right? So it is basically have a previous year asked questions and who have already gone through the interview now, they will write their experience, that how was the experience, right? What was the level of the question? So you can always go through that and try to find out some useful tips over that because the questions might get repeated. After knowing the logic, also coding makes the task complex. Uh, I'm not very sure how to help in that, but yeah, one thing you need to do is try to do as much as question we have, right? On the Geeks for Geeks, if you see the ranking, we do have a college-wise ranking as well. Try to build up your ranking in that. If you do more questions, you will get to know the more concepts. You will get to know each and every like some people have a problem on writing a code with a dictionary. Some people may have a problem on writing the hash map. So yeah, you need to do that. The practice is the only key, I would suggest. We are practicing in the code chef and the code is executing after knowing the algorithm. It's okay to see the solution, but what I would suggest is first try it yourself. If you don't get the solution at the first instance, then look for the solution. Don't spend too much time. Let's say you spend a day for hunting the solution and you don't find anything, right? You spend a whole day. Within a whole day, you might have done two or three more questions, right? So try to utilize your time as well. I would suggest don't spend too much time because this is not the right time to spend too much time on a particular question. Right? It's okay to look at the solution, but make sure when you come to the question next time or you see a similar question of a same logic, you should be able to do it. Any YouTube channel for competitive coding? Honestly, I don't prefer any YouTube channel for the competitive coding. Competitive coding, you should do it by yourself. I would suggest to go for the GFG, or if you want to go for the higher level, you can go for the lead code as well. Right? But if you get stuck, of course, you can go for the YouTube tutorial. But basically, you just need to write the question, and you can have a whole bunch of videos over there. Okay, guys. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.